Hello, Dr. Neal. My name is Kendrick. I am going to be presenting my project, which was family and community engagement. And I want to talk about this little image here. We all know it takes definitely three characteristics or three main parts in order for a school to be successful, and that is the student, the parents, and the teacher. And we need to have a very, very good communication between all three. And we do not need to have no barriers because if we do, we all know that the student is the one that's going to be impacted the most. So the overview of this project, I'm going to discuss the purpose, the internal and external participants, the analysis of findings, organizational analysis, and the marketing plan. And the purpose of this project is to improve, just basically improve what we identified as the weaknesses from the participants. So the purpose is to improve the partnership between the school community and stakeholders. We want to increase our parental involvement and improve the gap between the community and the school. And we know there is a gap because of language barriers and considering Magnolia Elementary is in a rural area. And we know that 45% of Magnolia is Hispanic. And the Hispanic population, we know there's a language barrier, and a lot of times, like whenever our parents come to the school, we have to find interpreters, we have to find someone to translate for them, and it's uncomfortable. It feels as if it's uncomfortable for the parents, and as well, many times teachers they find it difficult to communicate with the parent because they can't communicate effectively because of the language barrier. Because a lot of our teachers are not bilingual, so they just feel as if they just don't contact the parent. And that's the purpose of this project. We're trying to close that communication gap and really increase it. And by increasing our language and our communication, that's going to increase parental involvement as well. So our internal participants was a teacher, an instructional coach, the principal, the counselor, and the EC teacher. And from the internal participants, all of them pretty much stated the same thing about the communication gap, how they feel like parents are not involved. Um, and that was the weaknesses, and a lot of the strengths was they did feel like Magnolia Elementary that we do our best to communicate with our parents, considering the communication gap. We they um, do know that we tried to find a lot of Hispanic workers. However, there's just nobody's applying, so we just can't find any help, and that's not our fault. There's just nobody out there. And another strength was that Magnolia, it does its best to reach all students. Um, we're a diverse school. That was another strength from the participants. But the weaknesses is definitely the parental involvement. So our external participants was a board member, a parent, another parent. I had another parent, and I also had a fire chief because he was from the community, and they also seen the same thing. How there's a communication gap, and a lot of these parents they said it's just not about Hispanic, but all parents feel like there's a communication gap in general. Also, the fire chief he would like to have more parental involvement. He would like to see more activities going on at school. He said that Magnolia Elementary does not hold a lot of activities, especially in the last several years, and he would like for that to change. So, my analysis of findings, which I just touched on this communication gap between teachers and parents, the Hispanic population feels as if there is an issue with equality, and they feel this way because of the communication gap. And I'm gonna talk briefly about how we're going to fix that. Activities that are planned does not target all population. Hispanic population does not receive information, and the Hispanic population feels as if there are the communication issues due to language barrier. So the organizational analysis, whenever we got all this data back, we sat down as a team, the principal, assistant principal, myself, the academic coach. the school improvement team, grade level chairs. We had our board member, some parents, and the fire chief. So what we did, we sat down and I created a schedule of events that we could possibly have to increase parental involvement. And some of those events, we made sure we had translators, we had interpreters, we have suggestion box for after the meeting or after the event because we want to get feedback and see what else we can do to increase parental involvement and to make sure our events are targeting all stakeholders. And so far, I can say that the events that we have had, they are more, they're becoming better and better. Some of them we did do one inside and we did one in the parking lot outside the school, and it is becoming better. We do see an increase in attendance on each one of the events that we're having. So that's good. And I think parents are pleased to see that the school is making effort. And no, it's not perfect, but as I said, we are going to continue improving on what we're doing here. And as a team, we did create that calendar and we discussed like how we could get more people here, more parents here. So for the next event, because this is the second 9 weeks, we are going to do our curriculum night again, and we're going to actually feed parents this time. We're going to feed our parents, and we're going to advertise that on all our social media platforms and through our informative letters and our marquee to make sure parents are aware of everything that's going on. So I've touched on this a little. The goal is to increase the partnership between stakeholders and Magnolia Elementary. According to the authors here, parent involvement in a child's education is consistently found to be positively associated with child's academic performance. We know if parents are involved that the child's going to perform better and their academics will improve. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're going to update the marquee weekly in both English and Spanish. That is something that is new because when I first started doing the marquee this school year with this project, because this is a way I advertised what was going on at the school, I only did it in English. But now I've started doing it in Spanish as well because it hit me we're 45% Hispanic and a lot of our parents cannot read the English on the marquee, so it's defeating the purpose. So I also put it in Spanish now. The informative letters that I type up, I make sure they're translated. I put them on my social media platform, and I also make sure every student gets one to take home as well to their parents. And in the car rider line, because we have a lot of car riders at Magnolia, I started giving them to the teachers that's out there and the counselors to give to the parents as well. And out there at the car rider line, they started telling the parents what we got going on at school. So I believe that's became very effective, and that's helping increase parental involvement as well because now the parents definitely know what's going on at the school because they're hearing it firsthand. We're doing cultural nights for all ethnic groups, and I could say this is very effective because we already did our Hispanic and our Native American one for November, and that was very, very good. It was, I cannot explain how great it was. The attendance was very high for both of those. And the Hispanic one, we had a lot of Hispanic people show up from the community, and our workers who was Hispanic was there to translate for us, and it was just very effective. And I think the Hispanic population really did see that we're making an effort. And I mean, we did get some feedback in our suggestion box about how the event could be better, but for the most part, it was very successful, and I was very happy with the outcome. Teachers will contact parents and submit their communication logs. So we created a Google folder for all our teachers, and they have to upload their communication logs bi-weekly, and we want to see different parents that they have contacted, and if that parent's Hispanic, we also want to know what translator did they use. Social media platforms will be utilized as well as different communication. So we'd have Thrill Share, and that's for our all call. We are using our Remind app. Our Remind app goes to all parents because we have it set up with all their cell phone numbers, and it translated also for our Hispanic parents. So we're making sure all our parents are getting a communication, whatever we're trying to communicate with them. and translators will be hired. So we did put in our Title I budget to to hire some translators. However, no one has applied, and that's the issue that we're having. We've got the money there, but we can't find anyone. So we're still trying to hire some translators. And that is the end of my project. And this is going to be an ongoing project. We're going to do we're going to just keep doing it. And that's that transformational piece. We're trying to transform what's going on at Magnolia and make Magnolia a more effective school for all ethnic groups. And that's the purpose of this project. We want to increase our parental involvement. We want to close the achievement gap amongst our students, and we don't want to have that language barrier. We want to communicate effectively with all parents, and that's what we're doing here. So thank you, and I hope you understand what's going on here, and I hope you also just realize how effective this project has become. Thank you.